It's never
Buffalo Bills. It is a 31-degree bitter cold day in Buffalo. The wind may be a factor later on. The forecast, chance of a snow flurry later today, and it will get even colder. This has been a difficult and emotional week for the New York Jets, with their thoughts on their partially paralyzed teammate Dennis Byrd, who will be watching from Lenox Hill Hospital in New York, while Jim Kelly and his Buffalo Bills hope to turn around from last week's poor performance and losing to the Indianapolis Colts. Kelly had 4 of his passes batted down, completing only 11 of 33. Thus, the Bills in a battle for home field advantage in the playoffs at 9-3, along with Pittsburgh, Kansas City, and Miami at 8-4. Hi, everybody. Marv Albert, along with Bill Parcells. And Bill, for Jim Kelly, it certainly was a flat performance by the entire Buffalo offense.
Yes, it was, Marvin. All of them had a hand in it. Jim Kelly in particular, 4 batted balls, 7 drop passes. Just not a memorable performance offensively for the Buffalo Bills at Indianapolis. And
the Bills have won the toss, and they will receive. Kenneth Davis and Al Edwards are back. It's taken by Edwards, and he will stay right there. A look at the Buffalo Bills offensive line, and this group that has done a nice job. Jim Kelly sacked only 16 times in 12 games. Wolford, Richer, Hull, Parker, and Ballard. Thurman Thomas and Carwell Gardner are the running backs. Jim Kelly's receivers, Andre Reed, James Lofton, who's had his difficulties recently, and Keith McKellar. The extra tight end, when the Bills go to what they call the pair, is Pete Metzelaars. So Buffalo with a record of 9-3. Last Sunday, losing in overtime to Indianapolis, as Kelly goes incomplete. The pass intended for Thurman Thomas. Mark Gunn is the man replacing Dennis Byrd at left defensive end. Scott Mercereau, although bothered by an ankle problem, says he's all right. And in the secondary, Brim Hasty, Washington, and Young. In the dime, Dennis Price, Andre Coors come on. Buffalo out of the no huddle in a 2nd down and 10. And here is Thomas. Short of the first down, hauled down by Mo Lewis. To that loss in week 5 to the Miami Dolphins. Hit a down period, appeared to snap out of it, won 5 straight until last week against the Colts. It's a 3rd down and 2. The hole opened up for Thomas, and then he's stopped by Marvin Washington.
One of the things the Bills have to try to do, and they tried in the first series there, is get Thurman Thomas established on the run. But the Jets, playing their nickel defense with 2 strong linebackers in there, Kyle Clifton and Mo Lewis, reacted well to that draw, and they bring up a punting situation for Buffalo.
Yes, Thomas 2 yards short. Here's Chris Moore, who had an excellent day last week against the Colts. Punted 6 times, averaged 48 yards per punt. Rob Carpenter is back. Moore just did get it away. Only a 30-yard punt by Moore. And here comes Browning Nagel, who is back in the starting lineup. Ken O'Brien now on the injured list after hurting his thumb once again last week in that starting assignment. Offensive line continues to shuffle. The rookie, Siapeli Malamalo, who made his first NFL start last week at left tackle, now starting at right tackle. Later on, we'll see Dave Cadigan in that 3-guard rotation. Nagel at quarterback. Johnny Hector starting for the injured Blair Thomas, along with Brad Baxter in the H. The extra tight end, Ken Wisenhunt, comes on. And we may see quite a bit of the double tight end because the Colts had success last week with it against Buffalo. First down for the Jets from their 42-yard line. And Nagel able to complete to the one-time Buffalo Bill, Chris Burkett, stopped by the left corner, Kirby Jackson, and that is good for 14 yards. Well, that front 7 for the Bills. Hanson, Wright, and Smith. Linebackers outstanding. Bennett, Conlon, Bailey, and Talley. And the Buffalo secondary featuring Jackson, Odoms, Jones, and Kelso. The extra defensive backs, J.D. Williams, Matt Darby come in on the dime. 2 minutes have gone by. Jets with a first down at the Buffalo 43. And Baxter able to break the tackle. So Brad Baxter stopped by the combination of Shane Conlon and Darryl Talley, but it appeared the Bills had him back before the line. He was able to whip by Cornelius Bennett.
Well, one of the things that Bruce Coslett and Browning Nagel said is, you know, they're going to take a little page for the Indianapolis book. Ted Marchibroda's offense against the Bills, very successful last week. So you're going to see a lot of one back and two tight ends. And there Cornelius Bennett playing off the block, but missing the tackle on Baxter. And he's able to turn up for a big game. But a lot of one back attack for the Jets, because the Jets are very short on backs today.
It's a 2nd and 2. And Burkett with his second catch for a first down. Stopped by Odoms and Talley. Chris Burkett spent 5 years with the Buffalo Bills. Did not leave on happy terms. And in talking with Chris over the past 2 years, and he's done very well with the Jets, in particular in special team play, he admits that he was a bit on the immature side when he was here. Didn't handle things properly.
Well, you know, sometimes it takes time for players to develop. And, you know, Burkett was fortunate to get an opportunity to come to the Jets and has had a very, very good career with the Jets since he's arrived.
Big hit on Johnny Hector from Shane Conlon. Shane Conlon making it back after missing 3 games. Returned last week against the Colts. He'd been bothered by an ankle problem. A loss of 1 on the play. It'll be a 2nd and 11 at the 29. Back to the subject of Chris Burkett. He has been a target of the Bills. You mentioned on the pregame show that these two clubs don't necessarily like each other. And Jeff White, the Buffalo nose tackle, claims that he took a couple of cheap shots from Burkett when they had that melee in the Monday night game. It's dropped. Intended for Burkett.
Now, there's been some conflict and a little bantering back and forth in the papers between Wright and Burkett. There's Burkett working against Kirby Jackson underneath Darryl Talley. The ball off Burkett's hands, but Wright said in the paper up here in Buffalo this week that Burkett just better watch it a little bit. He's conscious of when Burkett's around him.
It's a 3rd down and 11. Pat Chafee now in the backfield for the Jets. 2nd-year player out of Oregon State. Nagel to put it up, looking for Chafee. He's got him, but he's stopped inside the 25 by the free safety, Mark Kelso.
So far, the execution on the part of the Jets would be just what Bruce Coslett wants. You know, they've got the wind to their back, and it is a very strong wind, and got the ball in good field position. And, you know, they've hit the receivers. They've made a couple of good runs already, and, you know, they're in the scoring zone here. And with the wind to his back, Blanchard should have a relatively easy shot at this field goal.
It's a 41-yard attempt by Kerry Blanchard, 12 of 16 for the season. Kerry Blanchard has become a very close friend of Dennis Byrd. And, you know, back at Lenox Hill Hospital, Dennis and his family appreciating that field goal by Blanchard. It officially goes down as a 42-yard field goal. So the Jets take the early lead with 5 minutes gone by in this first quarter. Point of view in light of the Dennis Byrd situation, I would think if the Jets should upset the Bills or play extremely well, it will be said that Dennis Byrd was the inspiration. But if Buffalo wins, I would think it'll be rationalized then that the Jets had their minds on other matters.
Well, Bruce Coslett said early in the week that this was not going to be a motivational thing. And the thing that Bruce Coslett had to do extra this week, besides the game plan and putting these guys on injured reserve, O'Brien and Eatman and Blair Thomas, and getting new players integrated in the system. Heck, he had a crisis counselor in there to talk to the team. And one of his big jobs, he told me yesterday, was dispelling the inaccurate information that was circulating around the Jets camp in regard to Dennis.
Yes, all kinds of rumors that were popping up. That kickoff carries out of bounds.
He had to make sure that the team was getting totally accurate information because of their great concern. And so that was part of the thing. And then course, he has to get the new players in and the game plan ready to go. And it really wasn't until Friday that they started to putting the hammer down and said, hey, fellas, we got to play football here on Sunday. Let's get ready to go.
Jet players told us yesterday that on Friday night, President-elect Bill Clinton called Dennis Byrd at the hospital, and Clinton said to Dennis, hey, we're praying for you. Dennis said, no, we're praying for you. But they had about a 10-minute conversation. It's Thurman Thomas off the slant, reaching to the 45-yard line, stopped by James Hasty, and it is a Buffalo first down.
Well, you're into the wind early in the game. You know, you're trying to consume time and get the running game going, and 2 out of the first 3 plays the Bills ran in the first series were runs, and that's what they want to do, establish Thurman Thomas early in the game.
And apparently they changed the spot at 2nd and 1. And here's Thomas to the open field. Penalty marker tossed in the backfield as Lottie Young chased Thomas out of bounds. The penalty against the Jets. A 37-yard run by Thomas.
They've got Thurman Thomas established already now. 4 carries, and he's well on his way to 100 already.
Illegal use of the hands on the defense, number 94. Hands to the face. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Referee Dick Hantak with the call on Scott Mercereau.
Well, you're not allowed to put your hands to the face. Mercereau inside. He's fighting the block by the center, Kent Hull, and he lifts his palm up into Hull's face mask, and that's a good call by the umpire.
In that earlier game against the Jets on Monday night, Thomas ran for 142 yards. That was back in October. Here's Davis to the outside. And he is hit down at the 6-yard line by Brian Washington. So the 37-yard run, and a beauty by Thurman Thomas, setting it up here for the Buffalo Bills, who are trailing 3-0 with 6 minutes gone by in the first quarter.
And the interesting thing that the Bills have done early in this game, usually when you face Buffalo, you expect 3 wide receivers and a tight end. Well, right now they've got 2 tight ends and 2 backs in the game, and they're utilizing a lot of different personnel now that they didn't use a few years ago.
Oh, Davis is hit down. The quick move by the right defensive end, Marvin Washington.
Well, Marvin Washington coming off the right side. Buffalo was trying that counter tray, and they weren't able to seal Washington off. You see the guard and tackle Richter and Wolford pulling, but the tight end Metzelaars was assigned to cut Washington off. He wasn't able to do it. Washington got big penetration and created the minus play.
It creates a 3rd down and 7 just inside the 10-yard line. Thurman Thomas is back. Andre Reed is split to the left. James Lofton in the slot. Kelly looking left. Intended for Thomas, who was looking for interference. He was covered by Mo Lewis.
And that was good coverage by Mo Lewis. Thomas wanted the call, but Lewis made no interference. He was very close on him, but he just on his back there, but he didn't touch him. You see Lewis pulling his hands back, and that's no interference.
The field goal unit checking in, a 26-yard attempt for Steve Christie, who has had a terrific season. 18 of 22. Last week hit from 52 and 44 against the Colts. Angle to the left for Christie. So the Bills have tied the game at 3. 7:56 remaining. First quarter from Buffalo.
Fruit of the Loom, clothes for the best of your life. By Pontiac and your nearby Pontiac dealers, we are driving excitement. By Schick Tracer, it traces every curve on your face. And by Miller Genuine Draft Light, the cold filtered light with smooth draft taste, GD Light.
Marv Albert, Bill Parcells from Rich Stadium in Buffalo. Steve Christie with a 27-yard field goal, tying the game for Buffalo at 3-3. And now Christie will kick off to the combination of Terrence Mathis and A.B. Brown. A.B. Brown back on the roster after being cut a second time, re-signed this week. Mathis gang tackled across the 30-yard line. And there is the injured tackle, Irv Eatman, put on the injured list with a sprained ankle. Irv with a little warning to his teammates concerning today's game, referring to Buffalo. They'd like nothing better than to smash us and trash us, and they'd still say nice things, wish us well, referring to their good wishes regarding Dennis Byrd, which I'm sure they mean, he says, but I also know they'd like to blow us out of Rich Stadium.
Well, you know, you got a division rival. That's supposed to, you know, that's the way it's supposed to be. You're supposed to try to beat them and blow them out of the stadium when you get them on the road.
Play action for Nagel. He is picked off. The interception by Shane Conlon. Last week against the Colts, Conlon had an opportunity for an interception, couldn't hang on, but this one he was able to clutch.
Well, they faked the draw on Nagel. Tight end's coming across. He's trying to hit the deep square in behind, but it's an ill-advised throw because the safety, Henry Jones, had Rob Moore well covered, and of course he underthrew it, and then Conlon made the great interception. And, you know, with the wind here, the Jets have to take advantage of the wind when they have it, and now Buffalo is the one into the wind with the good field position. 11th
time this season Nagel has been intercepted, first of the year, as you saw, for Conlon. Penalty flag is thrown.
Davis, the ball carrier.
Kenneth Davis. And let's see what the penalty is all about. It is against the Jets.
Jets are offside there. Defensive stop.
And Davis battling his way.
Ryan Washington making the tackle.
Kenneth Davis in his 7th season out of Texas Christian. He's averaging just under 5 yards per carry. A quick slashing style runner. Bit of a change of pace from Thurman Thomas.
Well, that's right. He is a change of pace. And Tom Bresnahan was telling us that as the division rivals became more accustomed to playing against Buffalo's spread no-huddle offense, that Buffalo in turn had to use more personnel to make it more difficult for the teams to predict what they were going to do. So here's what you're seeing right now, this tight end power offense.
And Davis is stopped behind the line by Lonnie Young. Some help from Marvin Washington as they collaborate on Davis.
Well, you see the Jets have an awful lot of guys up on the front defense, 8-man up, and they're trying to run the counter tray, but the penetration's just too great. And that's the style of defense that you have to play when you're trying to stop that counter tray offense, which necessitates a guard and tackle pulling in front of the ball carrier. If you penetrate well, like we've seen a couple of times here, you can stop that play with penetration.
It's a 3rd and 9 back at the 41. Game is tied at 3. 6 minutes to go, first quarter. Inside handoff, and Mercereau was right there to greet Thurman Thomas. Quick move by Scott Mercereau. Scott, involved in that collision last week with Dennis Byrd, was a question mark during the course of this week because of a bad ankle. He's come up with 2 solid hits in the first quarter.
Well, he just stunted his way right into that play. You see Paul Frey's 91 went down. Mercereau came around, and that disrupted the blocking scheme on the part of the Buffalo Bills, and he just ran right smack into Thomas and made the tackle.
And here's Chris Moore punting to Rob Carpenter. So Carpenter lets it go. It's a 42-yard punt, and when we come back, the Jets will start out from their 20. He said the players were too involved watching the Miami-New Orleans game that was up on the big screen. Marv said he was guilty too. In effect, the attention span just wasn't there.
Well, you win as much as Buffalo has, and I know we had that problem from time to time with the Giants when we were on some winning streaks. You'd run into a game, it seems like there's always one each year where something like that happens. You're not ready, you don't have that edge, you wind up either playing a close game and winning or getting beat like Buffalo did last week, and it's very difficult to fight that element when you win as much as Buffalo does.
Jets have the two tight ends, Boyer and the rookie Mitchell, are in there for this first down at the 20. Back to the ground for Baxter. A short pickup by Brad Baxter. Right here, we're set for an update. Let's go to Bob Costas.
All right, Marv, alongside Lake Erie, the Browns take a 7-0 lead in the Battle of Ohio over the Bengals. Kevin Mack over the left side, wide open for the touchdown, a 7-yard run that puts them up in the first at home 7-0 as they try and take their record to 7-6. Marv?
Thank you, Bob. Second down and 7 at the 23. Back in Buffalo with just under 5 minutes remaining. In this opening quarter, the Jets and the Bills tied at 3. And Baxter is stopped. Lost on the play. The nose tackle, Jeff Wright, was right there.
What's interesting to me is the approach the Jets are taking. And in looking at the tapes of the Indianapolis game against Buffalo last week, the Jets are employing the exact formation that Ted Marchibroda and the Colts used to move the ball successfully against Buffalo last week. Now they're in their spread-out offense. It's the first time they've been in it today.
And Johnny Hector, the long deep back. Buffalo leads the AFC in defending against the run. And the Jets have not been able to run against the Bills. Nagel throwing it away. Johnny Hector in the area, but he had nowhere to go, and he put it on the ground.
Well, that was a screen pass. Now you see Jeff Criswell blocking Bruce Smith on top of the screen and Johnny Hector helping out. Well, while he's doing it, Smith recognizes that it's supposed to be a screen, and as a result, the screen was to Hector, and Nagel didn't have anybody to throw to.
And here's Louis Aguilar in punt formation. Clifford Hicks back at his 35. Long count. And Aguilar hit it well. Hicks had a back pedal and gets the jet bounce inside the 20-yard line. That will go down as a 62-yard punt for Aguilar. We'll be right back. Which did very little last week against the Colts, has been silent in the first quarter. The only gain of substance, the 37-yard run by Thurman Thomas.
I think Buffalo is just trying to wait till this quarter's over and they can get the wind behind them before they spread out. I mean, they've been in this tight offense most of the time, and you know, they just want to wait till they get good field position with the wind.
Bill starting from the 16. Carwell Gardner got the call, could not make the turn, and he stopped for a loss on the play. Carwell Gardner, a 3-year NFL man out of Louisville, second-round draft pick back in 1990. He's averaging about 4 yards per carry.
And Gardner's one of those interchangeable guys, Marv. You know, he can be a fullback, and he's big enough, 245 or 50 pounds, where he can line up in the tight end position. So you got some versatility and power and extra blocking when you have a guy like Gardner in it.
He lost 2. It's a 2nd and 12. Thomas run out at the 20-yard line by Mo Lewis. Coming up next on most of these NBC stations, hope you stay with us, for include a doubleheader today in your market. So we suggest you check your local listings or get an attorney. It's a 3rd down and 6. Hard hit on Metzelaars as he made the catch at the first down marker. Mike Grimm with the hit on Pete Metzelaars.
But that time, Jim Kelly's pass protection was just so good that he was able to scan the whole field, just stand back there. He looks to his left, there's nothing there, pulls the ball down, and finally comes back to Metzelaars. But the pass protection is what you could credit with that interception. I mean, with that reception.
For Jim Kelly, his first completion. Kelly bothered by a bruised right hand during the course of the week, but told us that it is all right. First down play for Kelly, and another completion for Thurman Thomas. Run out by Mo Lewis and James Hasty, but not after he picked up 21 yards.
There's nobody out here in the flat, and that's why Thurman Thomas is so wide open. And you see Kelly takes the snap there. There's no one on coverage in the flat, just the corner dropping off, and it's just an easy catch. No one was in the zone. It's an obvious busted assignment on the part of either a safety man or a linebacker for the Jets.
A minute 20 to go, first quarter. Buffalo and the Jets tied at 3. Kenneth Davis to the outside, then try to cut back.
One of the things that's given the Bills a little bit of problem here on the running game is the Jets are kind of giving them a new defensive look there that Pete Carroll told us he was going to use. It's the old Chicago Bear 46 defense as it's applied to a 4-man front. And Pete Carroll has got parts of that defense ready today, and so far that's one of the reasons they've done a pretty good job against the Buffalo running game. They've got those 8 guys up there, you know, ready to defend the run.
Second down and 7 with a half-minute left in this first quarter, and off the movement, penalty markers are thrown. Look to be John Davis, who the Bills are shuffling in and out of the lineup.
False start offense prior to the snap, number 65. 5-yard penalty, still second down.
It is Davis, 6-year man from Georgia Tech. Went down last year with a knee injury and has been used sparingly this season.
Well, he hasn't played much, and sometimes before you get the feel of the game, that's what happens. You come in, you jump, you're not used, you're excited, you want to fire out and make your block, and that's what happens.
Second down and 12 at the 48. Kelly goes short range to Davis. And it is a short advance as this first quarter comes to a close. Mo Lewis again involved on the stop. So after 1 here in Buffalo, the Jets and the Bills are tied at 3. Field goal by Carrie Blanchard of the Jets. Steve Christie hit from 27. And the game is tied at 3. A first quarter that featured the all-around play of Thurman Thomas.
Well, of the 95 yards, he has 61 rushing and 21 receiving, so that's 82 out of the 95 yards now. My quick computer mind says that's about 86%.
Unbelievable. All right, second quarter underway. Third down and 8 from the 48. Kelly's pass is caught. Was he in bounds? James Lofton making the reception, and yes, he was. James Lofton, who has had all kinds of difficulties in recent weeks holding onto the football, comes up with his first catch of the day, and it's good for 15.
And you don't stay in the National Football League unless you can catch the ball as a receiver for 15 years. Now, he's had some problems the last couple of weeks, but he's a clutch receiver for him.
Out of the no huddle, Thomas. Jets had it diagnosed. Now, Bill, in your coaching days, how would you handle a situation where a player goes week to week and is just dropping balls constantly?
Well, you know, I never usually got too far down the road with those guys that drop balls, Marv, because usually we just got rid of them.
Oh, I see.
But
cut him, huh?
Yeah. But this guy here, you know, he's got so many receptions. You know, he's one of the top guys in the league. You know he can catch the ball. He's just in a slump.
Bill always with the subtle touch. Here's Thomas spinning his way, getting near the marker on the 9th play of the drive. We talked with Marv Levy about James Lofton's recent troubles, and he was telling us he doesn't think it's an indication of, as he put it, diminishing talent. we think he'll work things out. Marv also told us, now during practice, it's not the type of situation where he's running around yelling at Lofton, catch the ball.
Well, you know, a guy that's been around as long as Lofton and is as conscientious a receiver as he is, he knows what's going on. He knows he's in a slump, so he just got to concentrate a little harder. He said all the receivers did that this week.
3rd and 1, and Davis catapulting for the first down.
Well, Buffalo now is, you're seeing what Buffalo's game plan is. You see him come in with the spread offense. Starting the game, they were playing the win, try not to give the Jets a big lead with the win the first quarter. Now you're seeing the Buffalo game plan a little more wide open, a little bit better mixture of run and pass than they showed the first quarter. Here they are spread out again, you know, as wide as you can be spread.
And it's BB spreading wide left, Lofton wide right. First down at the 22-yard line. Kelly standing right in there with the time. Completes to Davis. Could not find anyone deep. And so went short to Davis, who was met by Mo Lewis.
Jim Kelly was looking for Andre Reed down the seam that time, and the Jets had him covered well enough that he had to go to his outlet receiver, Kenneth Davis. And good coverage by the Jets that time.
Andre Reed caught only 2 passes in the game against Indianapolis last week. As you see, second in the conference in receiving yards. 54 catches on the season for Reed. Now Kelly over the middle. Again at the marker for the tight end Metzelars. And once again, it's Lewis on the tackle. And it's a first down for Buffalo.
One of the mainstays of Buffalo's offense is to clear out and then work the tight end in here as the receiver clears out. This time, Metzelars just sets up in between the zone, and it's a nice, easy catch.
13th play of the drive. Davis broke a couple tackles. Clifton finally brought him down. Kenneth Davis putting the spin on. Well, we have Davis who can give you the spin. Thurman Thomas known for the little skip move.
Well, that's right, and it's comfortable for a coach to have a guy like this. You don't worry about tiring Thurman Thomas out when you have a back like Kenneth Davis, because as soon as Thomas has had enough, you put a guy like Davis in and you don't drop off very much when he's in there.
2nd down and 5 at the 6. Davis getting the call, weaving his way. The ball knocked loose, covered up by Buffalo. So Davis battling his way through, then the ball jarred loose, but the Bills able to cover it up for the touchdown.
Now the officials ruled that Davis had broken the plane with the ball in his possession. You see him weaving through the Jets there, and it's, gee, it doesn't look like he had crossed that plane to me, and there's the ball loose, but the official rules that the ball, and that's what counts, the ball had broken the plane.
Christie with the extra point to give Buffalo a 10-3 lead.
There's Davis approaching the goal line, and as he gets hit, the ball comes out just as it looks like he is approaching the goal line, so it does look like that ball was free before he actually scored the touchdown.
But it was Davis who was able to cover up to pick up the 6.
Had a better angle than we had.
Oh, reverse handoff on the kickoff return. Mathis getting it to Dale Dawkins. Marcus Patton able to push Dawkins out of bounds, and a penalty marker is down.
Well, the Jets trying a little deception on this reverse, but there's a penalty, illegal block in the back, I think, and there'll be a half the distance to the goal line penalty.
Illegal block on the return, number 20. We will penalize half the distance to the goal line. First down.
Well, that's Dennis Price, number 20. You see Mathis starting to the right, and they're going to run this reverse back to the left with Dawkins, and you see Price making that block on Chris Hale there, and it's half the distance to the goal line. And now the Bills defense usually responds to this type of field position and crowd situation.
And this is a concern of the Jets. The crowd, Jets practicing with the silent count all through the week. Baxter able to make the turn. Looked like he was trapped back behind the line, but picked up yardage.
That was a nice bit of running by Brad Baxter there, because it didn't look like there was much in the hole, and he made the adjustment and dipped it outside Cornelius Bennett and picked up some pretty good yardage. But as I said, the Bills defense usually feeds off this kind of field position. If they can just, you know, get going and make one play, you know, they kind of get into a frenzy, and then all those active guys like Bruce Smith and Darryl Talley and Cornelius Bennett get going and sometimes turn the game their way right here early in the first half.
It's a 2nd and 1 from the 19. Second back coming through, Johnny Hector. And let's see if he picked it up. Jeff Wright made the stop. The Bills lead by the score of 10-3 on a 14-play, 84-yard drive that consumed 7 minutes and 32 seconds. Jets did collect the first down. That the longest touchdown drive of the season for Buffalo. 7.5 minutes, 14 plays, 84 yards, capped off by the run by Davis, who incidentally hurt his hand as he crossed the goal line. First down at the 22. Hector finding a hole and reaches out to the 30-yard line. Henry Jones, Bruce Smith made the stop. Johnny Hector is the Jets' 4th all-time leading rusher. He was dropped at the start of the season and then re-signed and in the starting lineup because of the injury suffered by Blair Thomas. It'll be a 2nd and 2 from the 30-yard line. Freeman McNeil also injured, bruised ribs. So A.B. Brown was re-signed, and the Jets a bit thin in the running back department. This is Brad Baxter. And Baxter breaking tackles with a good run across the 45 in Buffalo territory. So Baxter rips off 27. Kelso and Jones combined to make the stop.
It'll be 1st and 10 for the Jets from the Bills' 42.
One of the things the Jets try to do is create big splits between their offensive linemen and make the Bills play one-on-one defense in the hole. You see him stretching, Baxter reading. It's the splits that create the running room for Baxter, provided he can read it properly and the linemen stay on their blocks long enough. And that's exactly what happened right there. That's part of the Jets' attack on the Bills. Stretch them, split them, and try to stay on their block.
It's a first down at the 42. Here's Baxter. And he's stopped at the line. Stopped by Phil Hansen. Brad Baxter has developed into the feature back utilized by the Jets earlier in his career, who was considered a blocking back out of Alabama State in his 3rd season, originally an 11th round draft pick of the Minnesota Vikings.
Well, you know, you get to be the feature back when you're the only one that can survive the season. And he's been a guy that's been able to survive. And durability is a big factor in the NFL, and that's why it's such an asset to have a guy like Baxter who's always out there every Sunday.
It's a 2nd and 9 at the 41. And again, it is Baxter. Did I detect a little skip move there by Brad? Not quite out of the pages of Thurman Thomas. I know you love the running backs who give that little pop.
Yeah, I don't think Baxter's the kind of guy that can do that skip. But Larry Bechtel told us yesterday, their offensive line coach, the Jets, they just want to play one-on-one football. And he also said that he had to sell Bruce Coslett by the performance on the field early in the game, that heck, we can run the ball. And right now, this offense is doing a good job of selling Bruce Coslett on the running game.
It's a first down at the 29-yard line. 6.5 remaining, first half. Baxter tripped up. Bruce Smith got a hand on him, and Smith is hurt. Bruce Smith, a player who has made it back from knee problems. with 10 sacks. He is 5th in the AFC. He doesn't even want to discuss the injury. He's saying he's okay.
Well, also, too, one of the ways you kind of try to cope with these big splits that I've been talking about is shooting the gaps every once in a while. And that time, Bruce Smith worked off the blocker to the inside quickly and got enough penetration to stop Baxter in the backfield. And that's one of the things that you try to do.
It's a 2nd and 9 at the 28. Bills 10, Jets 3. 8th play of the drive, and Nagel completes. Terrence Mathis with a first down. Darby and Kelso make the stop. Nice pass thrown by Nagel, and it's good for 16.
Terrence Mathis just working, fakes the outside, tries to swim, gets held up. Really, it's very, very, very good coverage, but he's able to make the reception. And sometimes, no matter what you do as a defensive back, if the ball's in the right place, the receiver still has the opportunity to catch it, and that was the case right there.
The Jets with a first down at the Buffalo 13. 5 minutes left, first half. And it's Johnny Hector reaching to the 10-yard line. Conlon and Bennett combined to make the stop.
One of the things I keep mentioning is the distance between these offensive linemen. The Jets are taking inordinate amount of splits, 3 feet, and trying to make the Bills play one-on-one defense. The further you stretch the point of attack on the front side or the side you're running to, the harder it is for the backside pursuit to get there. And that's, for all intents and purposes, what the Jets are trying to do.
2nd and 7, down at the 10. Hector hit for a loss. Lost 2 on the play. Carlton Bailey from his inside linebacker position made the stop. There's Bailey, a nose tackle in college at North Carolina, in his 5th season with the Bills.
One of the things that's hard to do against the Bills, though, is outrun them, because they have a lot of speed on defense. Talley, Bennett, Bailey, and when you just pitch it and trigger that pursuit with a pitch out like the Jets just did, you get all the Buffalo Bills in the pursuit lane. So they're better off if they try to aim at the tackles and stay inside and let Baxter read.
11th play of the drive. It's a 3rd and 8. Pat Chafee is in there, so the play clock run down, and that will go down as an incomplete. Bruce Smith got a piece of it. They scramble for the loose ball, but it will be an incomplete pass.
I'm not sure they're ruling that incomplete yet, Marv. That may be a fumble and recovered by the Jets, which may knock them out of field goal range.
It's a fumble. He threw
Yes.
an empty hand.
It is called a fumble.
Well, the official said he threw with an empty hand, which means the ball was knocked out before his throwing motion began, and that Smith had knocked the ball out before Nagel's arm had gone forward, which is what happened. You could see it clearly on the replay, so therefore it's a fumble.
And it was recovered by Pat Chafee of the Jets. Threw with an empty hand.
Well, that means there wasn't any ball left in it. And Smith had knocked the ball out, and now into the wind, this brings up a long field goal range. There's Smith coming around the corner. Nagel sets up. Chafee trying to help on Smith, but he gets his hand on the arm and knocks the ball loose, and it's a fumble.
Timeout called. When we come back, the Jets 4th and 24. Sack on that last play, his 11th sack of the season. Now, instead of a possible 29-yard field goal attempt, it'll be Cary Blanchard from 45 yards away because of that fumble. Blanchard hit earlier. No good. So Blanchard, who connected from 42 yards in the first quarter, coming up short from 45.
Well, into the wind, it's just too much. He hit it very solidly. You know, he kicked it his best he could kick it, but he just doesn't have enough power to drive it into the wind.
2 minutes, 53 seconds remaining first half here in Buffalo, and the Bills maintain a 10-3 lead. The Bills 10 and the Jets 3. Good start for Jim Kelly. He is 7 of 9. He's completed his last 7. Make it 8 in a row, and a first down for Andre Reed. Stopped by the right corner, James Hasty. The Bills in their hurry-up. Meanwhile, Bill, the Jets go 12 plays. They had the ball for 8 minutes and 10 seconds, and they come up with no points on that missed field goal.
You can't afford to do that, especially into the wind. That would have been a big help to them if they could have put something up. But now Buffalo's got the wind and plenty of time to run their 2-minute offense and enough timeouts to ensure scoring opportunity.
Thurman Thomas picked up 3, stopped by Kyle Clifton. 2nd and 7 at the Buffalo 48. We're approaching 2 minutes to go in the half. Bills trying to run off one more play. Oh, too late. That is the 2-minute warning. We'll be back in Buffalo in a moment. The Bills lead by a touchdown. Well, I know his family is very proud. 2 minutes to go in this first half. The Bills with a 10-3 lead on the Jets. Nice play action by Kelly, but he overthrew Reed, who was covered by Hasty, but a beautifully executed fake.
You know, not too many teams can fake a play action pass out of the shotgun formation, but when you have Thurman Thomas in the backfield, he attracts a lot of attention. So the Bills have incorporated even play actions into their shotgun offense, and that's really quite unusual for an NFL team to run play action out of the shotgun.
It's a 3rd and 7 at the 48. Now Kelly goes sideline for Reed. Brought down inside the 40 by Mike Brim, the left corner. Buffalo in the hurry-up. They have a first down at the 41-yard line.
Reed working against Brim, just hooks it up in front. And one of the things about running this no-huddle offense, usually you're pretty good at the 2-minute drill because you're used to doing it all the time.
And again, the completion this time, the tight end McKellar on the reception. Short of the first down. And a timeout taken by the Bills. 1:25 remaining in this first half. Back to Rich Stadium in Buffalo. Marv Albert with Bill Parcells. The Bills with a 10-3 lead on the Jets. 1:25 to go in this first half. And Buffalo 2nd down and 2 at the Jet 33. Again, they go to the spread offense. Oh, nice catch. That was thrown up high again, but Lofton able to haul it in for another Buffalo first down. 14-yard pickup.
Well, Lofton certainly not had any trouble catching the ball today. He's made 2 real fine catches already.
First down at the 19. Here's Thomas.
Thomas, the ball carrier.
Short pickup, Mo Lewis, who it seems has made almost every Jet tackle in this first half. Coming up with that stop, Mo Lewis, a player who has made the transition from the left side following a strong rookie year. He made numerous all-rookie teams. 2nd down and 8. Kelly standing in, throwing for the throw it away. He saw that Brim was in front of Beebe and did not see anyone else.
Well, Jim Kelly, you know, has kind of got used to looking for Beebe deep and in the scoring zone the past few weeks. And, you know, you think of the Bills passing game, Andre Reed and James Lofton, but Don Beebe is the guy that has become actively involved from a big play capability the last few weeks.
Out of Chadron State in Nebraska, Don Beebe. 3rd down and 8. 35 seconds to go. Kelly for the end zone. Kelly is now 11 of 16, 112 yards.
Well, that time Kelly was looking for Beebe again, who's coming down, faking the post, and then going back to the corner pattern. But as he tries to go back to the corner, he slips and falls, and Kelly didn't have anywhere to go with the ball.
So on this 4th down and 8 with 31 seconds remaining, Steve Christie, who earlier hit from 27, having an outstanding season, will attempt from 35. Oh, the snap was mishandled right. Try to complete it. Metzelaars, the intended receiver of that busted play.
Well, one of the things that no one realizes is when the wind is blowing, it affects even a short distance 7-yard snap from the center to the holder, and that snap was being made into the wind, and it was a little high and wiggling a little, and Wright wasn't able to hold on to it, and they had to run their fire play, which is what they call the play when the quarterback mishandles it. He yells fire, and then all the receivers go out in the pattern.
The long snapper is Adam Linger. So the Jets take over at the 18-yard line with time running down in this first half, and the Jets will just run it out. So coming up at halftime, the Domino's Pizza NFL Live halftime report. Bob Costas, O.J. Simpson, and Joe Namath in the studio, bringing you up to date with scores and highlights of all the action from around the league. That is just ahead. Halftime in Buffalo. The Bills with a 10-3 lead on the Jets. Now to Bob in New York.
Buffalo 10, Jets 3.
One big run for 37.
Well, you know, that's what Buffalo tried to do, especially into the wind, get Thomas established. And this game has gone pretty much the way Buffalo would have liked it to go the first half, with the exception of that last field goal problem they had that would have given them a 13-3 lead.
Jim Kelly, 11 out of 16, 112 yards, at one point completed 8 in a row. But this is the big play in that first half. Thurman Thomas ripping off 37 yards.
Well, you know, Buffalo has to try to get Thomas involved early in the game, and in all of the games we've done with Buffalo, 7 or 8 out of the first 10 plays always involve Thurman Thomas, and that was the case today. He just, you know, is their running game, and they've got to get him established.
And that led to a Steve Christie field goal. Now here's the touchdown by Kenneth Davis.
Well, the question here is, was the ball loose before he broke the plane? It looks like to me it was, but the official's right there making the call, and then Davis is on top of it anyway.
Now look at the Keystone Light halftime statistics. Time of possession even. Both clubs had long drives in the first half. The difference in the passing game, Nagel only 25 yards, Kelly 112.
Well, that's right. The Jets are going to have to do a better job throwing the ball, but the Bills haven't showed that they can stop the Jet running game completely either. So that has to be concerned for the Buffalo defense, that the Jets are able to run like they did the first half.
And there is Thurman Thomas, who is vying to become the first player ever to win the all-purpose yardage title for 4 straight years, in a battle with Barry Foster of Pittsburgh, Lorenzo White of Houston, Emmitt Smith of Dallas, and Thurman Thomas with 73 yards on the ground, 9 carries in the first half, and he caught 2 balls for 23 as a receiver.
Well, the other thing, too, you notice there on the back of Thurman Thomas's helmet, Marv, is some of the Bills players are wearing that decal that the Jets are wearing for Dennis Byrd also. So you can see that the Bills were affected, too, by, as probably every team in the league was, by the incident with Dennis Byrd.
Yes, that a religious symbol, and as you mentioned earlier, the Bills showing much compassion and hoping for a recovery. The partially paralyzed Dennis Byrd, who was injured last week in the game against Kansas City, a game won by the Chiefs 23-7. And thoughts of Dennis on the minds of all the Jets coming into today's game. Jet players were telling us about their visits to the hospital to see Dennis the last couple of days, and they all said that Dennis is somehow in great spirits, very enthusiastic. They say he has been giving them a big lift.
Well, the thing I got a kick out of is they said Freeman McNeil wouldn't stop talking. He was the one doing all the talking. There were 15 guys that went to visit Dennis, and Freeman took all the time.
All right, Mathis on the return. Steve Tasker, the excellent special teams player, making the stop, and here comes Browning Nagel. Now, last week, Ken O'Brien got the start as Bruce Coslett wanted to sit down Browning Nagel as he made several changes, in particular on the offensive line, going with the rookie Steve Polamalu. Roger Duffy starting at a guard position, going to a 3-guard setup. He stayed with it here today. O'Brien re-injured his thumb, so he is on the injury list. And Nagel is back as the starter. Baxter with the carry, stopped by the strong safety Henry Jones. There is Ken O'Brien. And now the backup quarterback is Jeff Blake, a rookie out of East Carolina who made his NFL debut last week. There's Jeff. And went 3 for 3 for 37 yards.
Well, you know, if the Jets are going to do any business, it's not going to be with Jeff Blake. It's going to be with Browning Nagel with the win like they have in the third quarter here. If they're going to do anything offensively, they've got to get to doing it early in the third quarter.
It's a 2nd and 4 at the 33. A good hit as Baxter is stacked up by Carlton Bailey.
Well, I'm certain that the Buffalo defensive coordinator, Walt Corey, in talking to the Bills defense that they have, and say, hey, fellas, they've only got 25 yards passing, but we got to do something about this running game. That's why the game is as close as it is, and perhaps the Bills have made some adjustments to alter the effects of the Jets splitting that line.
It's a 3rd and 5 at the 32. Nagel completes to Burkett for a first down. Kirby Jackson, Matt Darby make the stop. Burkett's 3rd catch of the game against his former club.
Burkett just running the quick inside slant, a short, easy throw, beating Kirby Jackson. And, you know, this type of pass is the type that the Jets want to throw because it doesn't allow Bruce Smith and Cornelius Bennett the time to pressure Browning Nagel. It's when they got the extra long yardage that pass rush of the Bills can be effective. But with 3rd and 3 or 4, Nagel can just throw that short one and get the first down.
Nagel is 5 of 9, 53 yards, 1 interception. Pat Chafee stopped after picking up a couple. Phil Hansen, the 2nd-year player from North Dakota State, making the tackle. Bruce Coslett was telling us last week before we did the Jets-Kansas City game that right now, this after a poor performance by Nagel against the Patriots, it's just too much for Browning. He wanted him to back off and watch. That's why he started Ken O'Brien last week. He said that Nagel wasn't playing within the framework of the offense. In fact, he said he would have made the move a couple of weeks back, but O'Brien had that injured thumb and could not grip the ball. But Coslett made it clear that Browning Nagel is the Jets quarterback of the future. And Nagel's pass incomplete, intended for Burkett. In effect, the Jets have put their future in the hands of Browning Nagel. Now, there are some people, particularly other Jet players, who say, as you watch the short pass from Nagel, that if O'Brien were in the lineup, this club might be around the 500 mark, maybe a bit more.
Well, you never know about that, but that's a retrospective view. You know, had Nagel been able to lead him to that record, they wouldn't have been able to say that. But there's no doubt that Nagel is the quarterback of the future, and now with O'Brien on injured reserve, he's going to go the rest of the way and get that experience he needs this year and you know, see where he is next year.
4th and 9, and Nagel completes for the first down. Again, combining with Burkett, stopped by Nate Odoms. That goes for 14.
Oh, that's an example right there, though, of why Bruce Coslett and the Jet organization thinks that Browning Nagel might be a real fine starting quarterback. There's a nice down the field throw. That's not an easy throw down the field 15 yards there, hitting the receiver right on the numbers. And Nagel has the ability to throw the ball. It's some of the peripheral things that he's having difficulty with this year.
All right, first down at the Buffalo 40-yard line. Mixing up the plays, back to Baxter, big hole, and Baxter able to rip through for a first down. Mark Kelso made the stop. Well, earlier, the Bills were stopping the run. That has not been the case from the second quarter on.
Well, Brad Baxter starting at the off-tackle hole, and then the Jet offense is able to isolate the backside of the defense. You see him start to the right. Baxter stops, Smith on the ground. Baxter cuts back. That's called isolating the backside of the defense. So really, you have 2 points of attack. The one where the play's called, and then the cutback availability right over the middle of the line.
First down at the 26. Nagel's throw just off the mark as Burkett took the pop from Kirby Jackson.
Again, you can see by the choice of pass that the Jets used, though, that they don't want Bruce Smith and Bennett to be involved. 3 steps, quick release, quick slant pass for Burkett. They've tried it 3 or 4 times here. There's Jackson working. Burkett. Now, Jackson's seen this thing a few times. He's right on it that time.
Bill, you mentioned some of the peripheral problems that Nagel faces. What are the flaws as you look at Browning Nagel?
Well, defensive recognition, things that change at the snap of the ball, the management of the team to the line of scrimmage, getting the team in the right formation, calling the right audibles. There's just a myriad of things that a quarterback has to do.
Nice play fake, though. Nagel throwing deep, and it's caught. Let's see where they spot it. The Jets claiming that it should be a touchdown. It was caught by Rob Moore. It will be a first and goal. A 25-yard hookup.
One of the things you do when you run the ball and then you fake that run and run the bootleg play-action pass is you've got a good chance to hit it. And basically, that's the first time the Jets have really thrown the ball down the field. There's Moore going across after they fake the run to the left. Nagel bootlegged out to his right, and then there's Moore down in behind all the defensive guys.
Rob Moore has been quiet as of late. That's his first catch of the day. So it sets up a first and goal at the 1. And Baxter, let's see where they spot it. He did not get in. He's short of the goal line. It'll be a second and goal. The Jets looking to tie the game. They're trailing 10-3. 6 minutes gone by in the third quarter. Coming up, the 11th play of the drive. The running backs, Baxter on the left, Chafee on the right. It's Baxter for the touchdown. Couple of big plays during the course of this drive. The completions to Burkett and then to Moore at the 1 to set it up. And Brad Baxter has scored his 5th touchdown of the season.
Baxter on the off-tackle slant just makes himself little going over the goal line, making himself difficult to get that solid shot on, so it prevents the Buffalo defense from knocking him backward into the backfield, and he goes in pretty easily for the touchdown.
Here's Blanchard with the extra point attempt. So Kerry Blanchard has tied the game at 10 with 8:51 remaining in the third here in Buffalo. Play 73 yards in 6 minutes and 9 seconds to tie the game at 10. Buffalo has won the last 10 straight against the Jets. The Jets' last win against Buffalo was the '87 opener here at Rip Stadium. Al Edwards and Kenneth Davis decide to stay right there, so they'll bring it out to the 20-yard line. Good kick by Aguiar. We'll be back in a moment.
Drive engineered by Browning Nagel. The main play in the drive was that bootleg pass where they faked the hard run to Baxter, fake it, come out, block right here, bring Moore all the way across deep, and Nagel is able to get it to him. But that's what happens when you have a good running game. You can fake those running plays you've been running, and you can run those deep play action passes off them. And Of course, that's one of the Jets' best drives of the season, in my estimation.
So the Jets have tied the game at 10, 8:43 remaining third quarter. The Bills from their 20. Here's Thurman Thomas. Oh, good run by Thomas, run out by Young.
Now Buffalo back in there into the wind offense. It's been two distinct offenses here today. When they've been into the wind, the majority of their offense has been two tight ends with Gardner and Thomas in the backfield. When they've been with the wind, it's been their traditional spread out offense with Beebe and the other two wide receivers, Reed and Lofton, and the one back with Thurman.
Thomas went for 9. It's a 2nd and 1. 82 yards on the ground for Thurman Thomas. And that is a first down. So Thurman picks it up. Stopped by Mark Gunn, the left defensive end.
6-yard gain.
Normally, the Bills just have one tight end, but you see two tight ends, and then Gardner as the lead back there who can act like a tight end. They can place him on the wing, or they can lead him through like they just did on that previous play. And really, you've got almost a 3 tight end, 1 wide receiver, power-style offense in the ballgame for Buffalo now.
And primarily, they go with the combination of Metzelars and McKellar. They also have Rob Awalt. Now Thomas to the other side. Gets across the 35, a short pickup. Scott Mercereau and Kyle Clifton combined on the stop. Well, next Saturday, the 1992 Heisman Trophy will be presented to this year's Levy in his 6th full season as the head man of the Buffalo Bills. Important game for the Bills, in particular coming off that loss last week to the Colts as they vie for home field advantage in the playoffs. Thomas springing loose, and then he was stopped. He felt he could have gone the distance.
Well, you see what the Bills have done here. They put their 3 wide receivers in the game, giving the impression that they're going to be in their pass offense, and then they run the ball to Thomas, but you see him slipping down there, and he's not able to gain additional yardage. But a real tribute to the Buffalo Bills offensive diversity and their coaching staff. Tom Bresnahan, their offensive coordinator, Ted Marchibroda before him. They know you just can't live with the pass in the NFL, and they've never deviated from having a solid running game.
It's a 3rd down and 1. Davis fumbles, and it's picked up by Lonnie Young. Jim Kelly on the tackle of the free safety, Lonnie Young, who recovered that fumble by Kenneth Davis.
Davis just on a regular blast-style play off tackle, and he tries to jump, and just before he does, he's hit, and the ball is loose, and as you should with a loose ball, Lonnie Young picks it up and tries to return it for a touchdown.
6 minutes to go in the 3rd. We'll be right back. Up, though, he's helped to the Jet bench. It has been a very tough season in terms of injuries for the New York Jets. That hit on Kenneth Davis made by Mark Gunn, who is playing in place of Dennis Byrd. Gunn coming up with the hit, leading to the fumble. Jets with a break take over, but Nagel is hauled down. Phil Hansen with his 3rd sack of the season. The Bills with their 2nd sack of the day.
That's the kind of play that the Bills needed to stop the Jet momentum that's kind of built up here the 3rd quarter. Now, that last play, the fumble that was created by Mark Gunn, you see him on the left side right here, penetrating, getting his helmet on the ball and knocking it loose, and Lonnie Young picking it up and trying to return for a touchdown.
2nd down and 17. Crowd very much into it. Incomplete. Bennett got a piece of it. The pass intended for more.
Well, you kind of get the feeling that turnover woke up the Buffalo defense. You kind of get the idea that they say, hey, fellas, we may be in another one of these like we were in last week if we don't watch it. The score's tied here. We better do something, or we're going to be trailing Pittsburgh for that home field.
Well, Pittsburgh also having its problems. They are trailing Seattle, as you saw a moment ago. It's a 3rd down and 17.
Now, these are some of the problems a young quarterback like Browning Nagel can have in this situation.
Chaffee short of the 1st down. Pat Chaffee, one-time Atlanta Falcon, acquired on Plan B, averaging just under 8 yards per carry. He has not carried the ball frequently, but when he has, he's done well. But he's 2 yards short of the 1st down. It's a 4th down and 2. And the Jets will go for the 1st down.
This is an interesting decision by Bruce Coslet. Rather than take the field goal with the wind, he elects to either try to draw the Bills offside or actually go for the 1st down.
Passing on a 49-yard field goal attempt. And Nagel completes for the 1st down to Rob Moore. Nice move by Moore. Kirby Jackson on the coverage.
The play selection the same, though. When the Jets have thrown the ball today, it's always that quick. Well, that's not even a 3-step drop. That's just a 1-step drop, just enough to get the 1st down.
So it's a 1st down at the 29-yard line. We come up on 4 minutes remaining. 3rd quarter. The Bills and Jets are tied at 10. Baxter. Stopped by Conlon and Bailey. Bill, we've touched on the significance of this game for Buffalo. They can clinch a playoff berth, in effect a wild card, with a victory here today, plus, and this gets complicated and does not complete its course until after the Monday night game, plus losses by Denver, Kansas City, and either the Browns or the Oilers. Buffalo and Pittsburgh with the best records in the conference at 9-3. Kansas City and Miami at 8 up and 4 down. Pittsburgh is trailing Seattle 14-10 in the 3rd quarter. 2nd down and 7 at the 26. And Baxter moving inside the 25. Again, a short pickup. Phil Hansen, Matt Darby able to make the stop. The Jets, on the other hand, are just finishing out the schedule in what has been a very difficult season. 3 up and 9 down. A disappointing year after they went 5-0 in preseason. Over the last 10 days, they've seen the retirement of one of their great receivers, Al Toon, and of course the injury last week suffered by Dennis Byrd. It's a 3rd down and 6. Now Baxter and Chaffee in the backfield. Nagel able to pump it complete. And a 1st down for Chris Burkett, tackled by Kirby Jackson. That's 5 catches for Burkett, the one-time Buffalo Bill. This for 15 yards.
And they've all been the exact same style of pass where he just gets underneath Kirby Jackson. They threw it incomplete to him on the first 3rd down of the game, and they've tried 3 or 4 more of them as the game has gone along here. And this style of pass prohibits the Buffalo pass rush from being any factor at all, and it is really good play selection by Bruce Coslet.
A 1st and goal at the 9. 8th play of the drive. Baxter able to make the turn and bumped out. No, now they say touchdown. He just did get in. And the Jets have taken the lead with 1:43 remaining 3rd quarter.
Well, you know, this game is going to have to go on the shoulders of the Buffalo offense, because with the wind at least, the Buffalo defense has not shown the capability of stopping the New York Jet running game. It's been, as you said earlier in the game, from the beginning of the 2nd quarter until right now, it's just a question of time till Baxter breaks another one of those 10 or 20-yard runs. Chaffee had a 17-yard run. I mean, they're doing what they want run-wise right now.
And Blanchard puts it through.
It's good.
So the Jets with set on their mind, taking a 17-10 lead. 8 plays, 40 yards in 4 minutes and 17 seconds.
Leading. Now Baxter turns it up there and goes in the air. Now the rule is, where is the ball? And it's difficult from this angle to tell, but you see the official there, the side judge, making the immediate call. So apparently the ball had broken the plane prior to Baxter landing out of bounds.
That's the side judge, Nate Jones, with a very quick touchdown indication. Al Edwards with the kick return, accelerating, and brought down as he brought the ball across the 25-yard line. Glenn Cadrez on the stop. We'll be back in a moment.
First and 10 from the 20.
He had no idea how his team would react to the psychological trauma brought forth by the Dennis Byrd injury last week, but the Jets appear to be a fired-up ball club. They now lead the Bills 17-10. Kelly to throw on first down has Carwell Gardner. And Gardner picks up a first down across the 40. He goes for 12.
Well, now it's up to the Jet defense to carry on what the offense has done for them. You know, they created that one turnover that gave them the last scoring opportunity here. But now they're going to be going into the fourth quarter in a week where they faced all that adversity against one of the best 2 or 3 teams in football on the road with a chance to win this game. And, you know, it's just up to the defense to try to respond to keep Buffalo out of that end zone.
First down at the 42, and Thomas goes down. Looks like he lost his balance, covered up by Marvin Washington. You mentioned the road. Well, the Jets 0-6 on the road this season. They've lost 8 straight on the road going back to last year.
Well, the Jets just swarming all over Thurman Thomas here, and as the quarter winds down here with only 31 seconds to go, I think Buffalo will change their style of offense as they did the first half to spread out more.
Look at the difference between the Jets playing at home and away. A dramatic differential. Second down and 12 from the 40. Kelly for Lofton could not hold on. Covered by Dennis Price.
This was an exceptionally tough catch for Lofton to try to make. He's working on Dennis Price here. Little inside short post. The ball thrown a little low and inside. Gee, it looks like to me he should have had that one. That's another drop. I thought it was a little tougher with the wind, but that was right where it should have been.
Report on Lonnie Young, who recovered that Kenneth Davis fumble on the previous series and looked to hobble off, was helped off the field. He will not return. Sprained knee suffered by the veteran Lonnie Young. It's a third down and 12 at the 40. It's a reverse for Andre Reed. And it's good for a first down. Beautifully executed.
That's the element of surprise coming into play right there, because there's no way that the Jets, you know, are anticipating that reverse. And of course, Thomas draws a crowd and then gives it quickly to Reed. Kent Hull, Jim Kelly throwing a block there on James Hasty, and just enough to get the first down.
And that ends the third quarter. After 3 here in Buffalo, the Jets in a surprise lead the Bills by 7. We'll be back after this from your local station. Developed into a good showing for the second-year quarterback Browning Nagel. 9 of 15, 113 yards. Effective the last couple of series. Jets leading Buffalo by the score of 17-10. Thurman Thomas on the first down play as this fourth quarter gets underway. And Mo Lewis, who has had an outstanding game, made the stop. Lewis with 7 tackles in the first half.
Well, he's a key guy because he's one of those active guys that can play the run and pass. And Bills are now in their pass offensive set. 3 wide receivers.
2nd and 5. And it is dropped once again by Lofton. Price on the coverage, and James Lofton now hearing it from the crowd. Made a couple of nice catches earlier, but he's dropped the last 2.
Well, I'm not sticking up for Lofton, but these last 2 are right in his hands. And, you know, you're a pro receiver, and he's been a great one for all these years. you just have to catch that ball. And once in a while, when you keep doing the same thing over and over, it's psychological sometimes and not physical.
3rd down and 5. Kelly's pass off the mark. May have had his arm hit. That was intended for Beebe. Looked to be Kurt Barber, the rookie from Southern California, who got a piece of the arm of Jim Kelly.
Well, Barber was unimpeded from the outside. Buffalo failed to pick him up on the pass rush, and he had a free shot at Kelly, and Kelly just didn't have time to get rid of that one. Barber coming off the left side there, and he's on Kelly before he can, even turn his hip and make an attempt to get it to Beebe.
4th down and 5. And the Bills in punt formation. Here is Chris Moore getting set to a punt for the 3rd time of the day.
But you got to watch a fake here also.
Rob Carpenter with the fair catch at the 13-yard line. A 29-yard punt. The Jets will go back to the offense in a moment. Marv Albert with Bill Parcells back at Richard Stadium in Buffalo. The 3-9 Jets leading the 9-3 Bills by the score of 17-10. Jets starting out from their 14-yard line. Problem, Nagel couldn't find anybody, and then does, and it's caught. Mark Boyer with the bobble catch. Nagel looked as if he had difficulty pulling that snap out, and then was able to recover. There it is. He dropped it at first, and then pulled away and rolled to his right and got off the pass.
Well, that was supposed to be a running play. I don't think that was going to be a pass, and the receivers were downfield, and I don't know for sure, but that's a heck of a play by Browning Nagel and a great catch by Carpenter.
A 15-yard pass play. And now Baxter stopped at the line by Carlton Bailey. We're set for an update. Let's go back to Bob Costas.
Well, you can put what's happening at Three Rivers in the same category as the surprise at Rich Stadium. Stan Gelbaugh rolling right hits John L. Williams for the touchdown. Seattle about a 2-touchdown underdog, leading the 9-3 Steelers, who are undefeated at home this year, 14-10 in the 3rd at Three Rivers.
All right, Bob. Jets with the 7-point lead here. 2 minutes gone by in the 4th quarter. And Nagel looking at a 2nd and 8 from the Jet 31. The pass thrown behind Terrence Mathis. It'll be a 3rd down and 8.
Well, the closer I look at this play, I think it was a pass. He fumbles the snap here. They're faking the run to the left, and it's supposed to be a bootleg. And then Boyer is down the field, and Nagel in the grasp of Kirby Jackson there is just able to get it to Boyer and gets the Jets in at least in some operating room away from their own goal line.
Now Chafee in the backfield for this 3rd down and 8. And it's dropped by Burkett.
That's the same pass that Nagel threw the interception on to Shane Conlon early in the game, trying to get Burkett in behind the underneath coverage, and he had him there, and the throw was perfect. Chris Burkett just couldn't hang on.
Should have had it. He made the good fake and the button hook, but could not come up with the ball. So Aguiar back to punt for the 2nd time this afternoon. 12:46 remaining 4th quarter. An emotional day for the Jets. Aguiar fielding that bad snap. Clifford Hicks.
Clifford Hicks returned the punt to the...
On the return, 38-yard punt, 9-yard return. The Jets playing with thoughts of Dennis Byrd on their mind, and they have pulled off a surprise coming from behind, and they have the lead on the Buffalo Bills. Religious symbol on his ankle tape, and Jet players in tribute to their injured teammate Dennis Byrd, wearing the number 90, various forms. Andre Reed stunned by Mike Grimm on that first down Buffalo play.
A 12-yard gain. First down.
So that's good for 12.
Andre Reed working against Michael Grimm. Reed slips down there. You know, when you get a frozen field like this, you got to make sure you got the right shoes on and that you don't slip at the critical time.
First down at midfield. After the bobble, McKellar able to hold on, but a short pickup. Lewis and Price on the stop.
That was one of the main plays in the Buffalo offense. They clear out Andre Reed down the field, and they bring the tight end across underneath, and Kelly just gets it to him. Then they do the reverse of that. They clear out the tight end, and they bring Reed across to the other side.
Third down and 5. The completion to Beebe for first down. That's good for 13, and for Beebe, his first catch of the day. But a flag has been thrown.
That's going to be an unnecessary roughness, I think, on the Jets, and it's going to be added on to the reception.
Personal foul. Unnecessary roughness. Number 48 on the defense. Will penalize half the distance to the goal line. First down.
That number 48's Brian Washington, who, in an effort to make the tackle a little too exuberant on Beebe, whose progress is stopped, and he's going out of bounds, and then Washington just gives him that extra shot. The official's there, and it's a good call, and it's a bad play by Brian Washington.
So Kelly now 15 of 23, 155 yards, looking at a first down at the Jet 15. Buffalo looking to tie the game. Here's Thurman Thomas with a big hole. R.J. Coors on the tackle. Buffalo with a first and goal, and Thomas on 16 carries has run for 113 yards.
And Thomas is one of the few guys, as you mentioned earlier, that can kind of skip to the side, and he does it right there, and Coors just makes an ankle tackle to keep him from scoring. But Thomas is one of those few guys that has the ability to skip from side to side. Billy Sims, Walter Payton, and a few others could do that, but not very many.
Buffalo with a double tight ends, Metzelaars and McKellar from the 2-yard line. Here's Thomas battling to get in, but he is stopped.
Mo Lewis with the tackle.
This is the part of the field, though, where Thurman Thomas's effectiveness as a goal line runner is reduced a little bit. He's not quite as powerful a guy as you would like on the goal line. He can't make his own hole. He can't really run over guys, so that's why you see a little bigger back, Kenneth Davis, going in for Thomas in this situation.
Kenneth Davis on his last carry coughed it up. Davis and Gardner in the backfield. Here's the play action. Touchdown! Metzelaars at the back of the end zone. And a Buffalo player is down. It's the offensive lineman, John Davis, who is down at the 5-yard line.
Jim Kelly making the hard off tackle fake to Davis. You see Metzelaars working along, number 88, the back of the end zone. Kelly finds him in the open area. Really, that's no set pattern that Metzelaars is running. He's just trying to find the open area after he releases on the off tackle play action.
And for Pete Metzelaars, in his 11th NFL season, his 6th touchdown of the year.
And the injured Buffalo Bill, John Davis, is a guy that had some problems physically in training camp and really missed, for all intents and purposes, all of camp. And the coaches were telling us that he was just now getting into football playing condition and just now ready to really start to make a significant contribution play-wise. And as fate would have it, just when he's ready, you know, he's got his leg falling on again, and you see You see the fake right there. He's right in the middle of the screen, number 65. And it looks like his own man, Kent Hull, or the Jet defensive lineman. There's another angle on it. Yeah, it's the Jet defensive lineman. I can't quite get his number, who falls on the back of John Davis's leg, and they say it's Mario Johnson, number 78, who fell on the back of his leg. But fortunately, he's up on his feet here, and the injury doesn't look too serious.
This occurring on the touchdown pass from Kelly to Metzelaars. For Jim Kelly, his 22nd touchdown throw of the season. He came into today tied for first in the NFL in that department with Dan Marino. And now Steve Christie hoping to tie it. And he does. The Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets are tied at 17 with 9:55 remaining in the fourth. For John Davis, who was injured a moment ago from his offensive line teammate Howard the House Ballard, inquiring how he feels. Like Davis might be all right.
Yeah, you don't see any ice bags, and if he was in real serious trouble, I think they'd be icing him up. Of course, it's cold enough they might not need him here today, man.
Terrence Mathis on the return. Oh, he took a shot. Corwell Gardner met him head on. And fortunately, Mathis is all right. Got right up.
Well, Gardner just kind of takes a beat on him. He's the contained man. Don't let Mathis turn in, and he didn't let him turn in. In fact, he ensured the fact that he wasn't going to turn in.
And the Jets have made a quarterback change. Now, we have not heard of any injury suffered by Browning-Nagle. Jeff Blake, the rookie from East Carolina, has come in. And it's Blake on a bootleg. I don't think that was the design play. Jeff Blake played briefly at the end of last week's game in the loss to Kansas City. Completed 3 out of 3. And in a surprise, he opened the surge. Now here comes Nagle.
Well, it had to be some kind of special play involving Blake. And it looked like he missed the handoff to give it to the running back, and maybe that running back was going to throw it back to Blake. I don't know, but it was a special play, a one-play thing. And I've seen it before. Bill Walsh used to do that all the time with Freddie Solomon. As a wide receiver, he'd move him in there to quarterback for one special play.
And Nagle calls for a timeout with the play clock running down. Well, Freddie Solomon's case, you're talking about a veteran. Here's an untested guy taking over with the Jets deep in Buffalo territory, but the reason has not been passed on to us.
You know, you get a special design or something you think someone can do, and to start that series, apparently Bruce Coslett had this special play arranged with Jeff Blake, and it looks like some type of sprint rollout involving him, and that's the only play he's in for. It's a special situation.
And it was the call. We were able to check with the Jet bench, and they said that's exactly what it was, but it did not work. Second down and 13, and Nagle completes for the first down, a sideline pattern with Rob Moore. So Nagle is now 11 for 19, Moore for 17 yards on his third reception of the day.
But more than that, I think what you have to be happy about if you're a Jet fan, not only that it's a 17-all game, but you may well be watching the first step in the maturity of Browning-Nagle here, because he's executing very well under very adverse circumstances, or at least he has to this point, even into the win. So you may be watching a quarterback grow up here.
It's a first down at the 34. Nagle with the punt, and he's hauled down. Buffalo with their 4th sack of the day. Bruce Smith will get credit for his 2nd and number 12 on the season.
In an effort to get the ball down the field more quickly, the Jets have to be careful that they don't get away from what's kept them in this game, and just dropping back and passing against that pass rush of a guy like Bruce Smith, you know, isn't going to serve you too well. There you see John Davis leaving the stadium on those golf carts, but we've got a 2nd and 12 here, and this is the strength of Buffalo's defense. Smith and Bennett on the pass rush, 2nd and 12, 3rd and 10, that type of thing.
And Nagel completes. Chafee is bumped out by the combination of Talley and Odoms, short of the first down. Remember, Buffalo has won 10 straight against the Jets. The earlier meeting in October, Giant Stadium, Buffalo came from behind, won 24-20 on a Jim Kelly to Thurman Thomas touchdown pass, only 51 seconds left. So the Jets have played them very tough. This is a series that goes back to the old AFL days. In fact, the New York Titans, the predecessors of the Jets, defeated Buffalo 27-3 at the Polo Grounds in New York in the Bills' first ever game. Nagel from Mathis, but he is stacked up inside the 40. Talley and Bennett were right there.
And the Buffalo defense did its job there, and there's a little inexperience on the part of Nagel right there, showing up, going underneath, having the receiver hook up in a zone that doesn't get you the first down. You know, you got to get the ball to the first down marker, and the Jets weren't able to do it. Now they're punting into the wind, and with 6:55 to go, the Bills are going to have pretty advantageous field position, and, you know, should be able to at least get into field goal range with that.
Third punt of the day for Louis Aguilar. He's back at his 25. Clifford Hicks with the fair catch. Hicks made the catch at the 11, a 44-yard punt, and Buffalo will take over with 6:34 to go in this fourth quarter. 12-7, that tied the game. A touchdown by Kenneth Davis gave the Bills a 10-3 lead, a 6-yard run. Baxter scoring 2 touchdowns, and then Kelly with the 1-yard flip to Metzelar to tie the game. And Lofton made the catch. And here's the crowd respond as Lofton caught it in front of Brim for a first down.
Well, and that just goes to show what Jim Kelly thinks of James Lofton, because just because he drops a few, that doesn't mean he's not going to get them thrown his way. And Kelly just comes right up, and, you know, Lofton can play under pressure. He has for all those years, and Kelly knows it.
First down at the 30 to the tight end, Metzelar. Coors on the stop. 4th catch by Metzelar. Another short advance. The Buffalo Bills with Kent Hull at center. Glenn Parker, Jim Richer at the guards. For Richer, his 200th game in a Buffalo uniform. There he is, 13-year man from North Carolina State. Will Wolford and Howard Ballard at the tackles. Kelly getting the protection, but put it up high, intended for Lofton. Jim Kelly telling us yesterday that was his problem last week against the Colts.
Well, too, sometimes when you throw with the wind, when you throw into it, the ball dips down, and when you throw with it, the wind gets underneath the ball and lifts it a little bit. So that was the problem on that pass for Kelly. He's throwing with the wind, and the ball just gets underneath it. And you see a Jet down there. He's Scott Mercereau. Apparently has a little leg injury.
Once the game's over, is to find out your call.
And it was Scott Mercereau involved in the collision last week with Dennis Byrd. You saw Scott wearing number 90 in tribute to his teammate. What a week for Scott Mercereau. It'll be a 3rd and 5 at the 35 when we resume. 5 minutes and 10 seconds remaining in this fourth quarter. Pittsburgh Steelers still trailing the Seattle Seahawks. And now in the fourth quarter with Seattle up 14-10. Buffalo and Pittsburgh entering to today with records of 9-3. They're vying for the home field advantage in the playoffs. Good catch, and let's see what they're rolling. Well, apparently no catch. Thomas did well to get to the ball, but never had possession as he was hit by Lewis, and it is called an incompleted pass.
Well, that time the Jets were playing man-to-man defense, and Mo Lewis had Thurman Thomas, and He makes the tackle as Thomas is trying to put the ball away, and Thomas never did have real control of it. And now the opportunity again comes up for the Jets to drive the ball for the winning field goal, and this is turned into quite an ebb and flow here in the fourth quarter.
Penalty is declined. Fourth down.
It's a 4th and 5, and the punt unit has come on for Buffalo. That is Chris Moore in his 3rd year out of Alabama. Buffalo coaching staff telling us they've been very pleased with his work. He's come a long way. Gets the ball off very quickly. Had the good day last week against the Colts. Rob Carpenter is back at his 25-yard line. Big rush. And Carpenter let it bounce. Well, the ball is down at the far side. It will go down as a 39-yard punt.
Still first down.
Bruce Smith did not like that call.
Well, you know, those defensive linemen, whenever they jump offside a little bit, then you see the Jet offensive lineman kind of drew him offside there, and that's what Smith's complaining about. That little move by the left tackle, Jeff Criswell, kind of drew Smith offside, but the officials only saw the second part of it.
1st and 5 from the 31. Nagel with the handoff, but Baxter had nowhere to go. Stopped by Smith. Bruce Smith coming up with 2 sacks earlier. In 14 games against the Jets over his career, 19.5 sacks. He can add 2 more to that total.
Well, Bruce Smith just slanting inside on that previous play and taking a chance. And one of the ways that Walt Corey said that he was going to try to neutralize the splits of the Jets offensive line was to penetrate in the gaps, and that was a perfect example of what he meant.
Impressive numbers put up by Smith today. 2nd down and 4 at the 32. Play action. And Nagel completes for the first down. Rob Moore with a 20-yard pickup, his 4th catch of the game.
That's the same exact play that they threw to Moore down on the 1-foot line. Same direction, same route. Nagel doesn't make a particularly good throw. You see Moore coming from the one side all the way across the field to the other side. Now, Nagel should have put that ball out in front of him a little bit more, let him catch it on the run if he could, but that's a play that the Bills have not been able to stop today.
1st down at the 47 in Buffalo territory. Moore in motion. Baxter could not make the turn and took a good shot from Henry Jones. Strong safety Henry Jones, who leads the NFL with 8 interceptions. He's in his 2nd season. Out of Illinois, Baxter with 2 yards on that run. It's a 2nd down and 8 at the 45-yard line. Bill, the stat line on Nagel is 14 of 22, 173 yards, picked off once. I would have to say it is his best performance since we saw him in the 2nd half opening day against Atlanta.
I don't think there's any question about that, and what he's thinking about now is how far do I have to get my team in order to attempt a field goal?
Well, that didn't fool anyone, and Hector is hit for a loss. Phil Hansen from his left defensive end position along with Bruce Smith to get the wraps on Johnny Hector.
That's a very big play on the part of the Buffalo defense. It's a little delayed draw play, and Smith eludes Jeff Criswell there, and then Hansen comes along and spills Johnny Hector for a big loss. Now Browning Nagel with a 3rd down and 15. You're kind of caught between throwing the high-risk pass, which could result in an interception, and just trying to punt the ball down the field safely and play for overtime. And that's the choice Bruce Coslet has right now.
Once again, looked to be a problem with the snap.
Well, there's a lot of Jets will be holding their breath on that sideline, hoping Buffalo didn't recover it.
the second time we've seen Jim Sweeney, the center, and Browning Nagel have difficulty. Back in that opening game in Atlanta, the very first snap of the day by Nagel was misplayed.
Well, a lot of times in the cold weather, Marv, you get that mishandled snap, and you know, you've seen a couple of them here today, and I'm not making excuses for anybody, but I know it's a lot more difficult to handle the ball in cold weather. The ball's much colder, it's harder, and it doesn't have the suppleness it does in warm weather.
Suppleness. You are so compassionate here in the booth. If I were watching you on the sideline, somehow I don't feel you would have accepted the mishandling of the snap in the same manner.
I agree with you 100%.
What a nice guy.
Can't those guys even center the ball to one another?
You wouldn't have referred to the suppleness, I don't think, to your ball club. 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Game tied at 17. Buffalo, New York. Marv Albert with Bill Parcells. A good one going here with Buffalo. And the New York Jets tied at 17. Last week, the Bills involved in a similar game, although Jim Kelly did not have the success that he's had today. Aguiar getting it off the low snap. Burkett following it out of bounds. Last week, the Bills losing in overtime to the Indianapolis Colts. That snapped a 5-game win streak. And now Buffalo takes over at the 18. Here's another look at that snap.
Well, that's one of the things. When you snap with the wind, the ball does a lot of funny things, and that was a good example of it. Into the wind, it dips. With the wind, it flies a little bit, and it's just as tough on the kickers as it is the receivers. Now, Jim Kelly, with 3 timeouts, you know, has to watch so he doesn't make the big mistake deep in his own territory until he can get good enough field position to open it up.
Starting from the 18, and it was almost picked off. Lofton, the intended receiver, and that one floated high and away. Grimm with the shot at it.
Well, that's just what I was talking about, not making the big mistake at the wrong time, and from this field position, any Buffalo mistake could result in the Jets winning the ball game. So he's got to be careful till he gets it out to his own 35 or 40.
Kelly with the audible on the 2nd and 10. And it's intercepted by Brian Washington. And Washington scores for the lead for the Jets.
Intercepted by Brian Washington. The Jets touchdown.
Defensive coordinator Pete Carroll celebrating as the Jets have taken a 6-point lead with 1:41 remaining in the fourth quarter. Brian Washington with his 5th interception of the season. And can you imagine what is going on in the hospital room of Dennis Byrd as he watches this with his family at Lenox Hill in Manhattan?
It's just an unbelievable game for the Jets, and you know, Jim Kelly got away with that one mistake on 1st down and then came back and made the same type of mistake on 2nd down, and this time Brian Washington just capitalized on it. And, you know, strangely enough now, with 3 timeouts and 1:41 to go, this game is not over yet. Kelly has driven the length of the field many times with this amount of time and 3 timeouts.
Cary Blanchard adding the extra point. The Jets with a 24-17 lead. An improbable day here at Rich Stadium for the Jets.
Brian Washington, Jim Kelly just never saw him, was looking for the short, quick inside post pattern, and Washington was acting like what we would call, when I was coaching the Giants, a robber back, give the appearance of a deep safety, and then just kind of get up in there in a rover or robber position, looking for that short inside pattern, and that's what Washington's job was on that defense, and he did it well. Kelly never saw him.
Meanwhile, Pittsburgh has come from behind to take a 17-14 lead on Seattle. This is a game that has seen the Steelers lose their starting quarterback, Neil O'Donnell, suffering a cracked fibula. Bubby Brister taking over.
But it also has big ramifications here in Buffalo, because with Pittsburgh possibly winning that game, now having the lead against Seattle, and Buffalo losing, and Buffalo having to go play at New Orleans and at Houston, I think Pittsburgh would now, if these scores held up, have the definite inside track for the home field advantage, and that's something that Buffalo has enjoyed for a number of years here.
Mr. Stats Elliott Cow going to the record book, telling us that that interception return for a touchdown, the first ever in the NFL career of Brian Washington. Kenneth Davis muffed the kickoff, and Davis has run out across the 20-yard line. We are down to 1 minute and 36 remaining in this fourth quarter.
Here's Brian Washington right here. This man's going to run a post. He's sneaking up in there in that robber position. You see him just sneaking up, waiting. Kelly never sees him. It appears the receiver's open, but Washington's acting as that robber or poacher and is intercepts him for the touchdown.
And Kelly was nearly picked off the previous play by Mike Brim. First down from the 21-yard line. Here they come. Kelly able to get it away, and it's broken up. Brim with the hit on Metzelar. It'll be a 2nd and 10 at the 21, 1.5 minutes remaining. In this fourth quarter, the Jets, in a stunner, have moved in front of the Bills 24-17.
I just can't emphasize enough that there's still enough time, though, for the Bills with all their timeouts, if they can get the ball in position.
Lofton makes the catch. Beautiful play by James Lofton, has had a couple of drops again today. This time he goes for 26 yards, bringing it out to midfield.
And even though there's only 1:21 on the clock, time really isn't that big a factor. Again, Jim Kelly is going to be able to stop the clock. Now, Lofton stops it for him right there, but he's able to stop it 3 times. He's got plenty of time.
And Kelly had it knocked out of his hands, recovered by the Jets. Bill Pickel, in addition to the roster today off injured reserve, comes up with the big play.
Just an unbelievable effort by the Jets defense here. It looked like Kelly was going to get that thing going and you know, put the Bills in field position to possibly tie this game up, but the Jets defense just mustered up enough energy, and Bill Pickel with the great pass rush just strips Kelly of the ball, and this is just a magnificent effort by the Jets today.
This has turned into a storybook finish. The Jets, obviously an inspired team. That is all you will hear about after the game, because this game has been dedicated to their partially paralyzed teammate Dennis Byrd, and they have come from behind to lead the Buffalo Bills 24-17 with 1 minute and 15 remaining in the fourth quarter. We'll be right back. Back, their first of the day, Bill Pickel, in addition to the roster, only today coming off injured reserve, able to knock it out of the hands of Jim Kelly. And now the Jets just hope to run it out to stop the 10-game losing streak at the hands of the Buffalo Bills. Let's see what this flag involves.
False start, offense number 69 prior to the snap. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Well, it's Jeff Criswell. This has been a very good day in terms of penalties for the Jet offensive line. That one of the problems that Bruce Coslett had with both Criswell and Cadigan. That's the reason that he's made the shuffle up front.
Well, Criswell got away with one of those false starts a few minutes ago, and Bruce Smith complained about that one, but they didn't get away with this one. But as you said, the Jets are just going to run out the clock, if they can, make Buffalo use all 3 of their timeouts.
And the Jets want to hold on to that ball. Chafee stopped by Hansen. Bills try to knock the ball free, and a timeout is taken with 1:09 remaining in this fourth quarter. Now let's go to New York for Bob Costas.
Pittsburgh Steelers have to like the way the last few minutes have gone. First of all, the Jets take the lead in Buffalo, and then Barry Foster goes across from 4 yards out, 121 yards on the day for him. Pittsburgh 17, Seattle 14. If these scores hold, Pittsburgh moves ahead of Buffalo for best overall record and home field in the AFC.
All right, Bob, and back in Buffalo, the Jets with that 7-point lead on the Bills. Buffalo has 2 timeouts left. The Jets have 1 remaining. The Jets' last win against the Bills was the opening game back in 1987 here in Buffalo. The Jets winning by the score of 31-28. Since then, 10 straight losses, and the Jets 0-6 on the road, and they have lost their last 8 away from home.
They've knocked on the door a couple of times up here against Buffalo. Last year they did. This year at home, the Monday night game, they had a chance to win that ball game, but they're closer than they've ever been in the last 10 games to winning one now, because all they'll do is run low-risk plays. Buffalo will use their timeouts. The Jets will punt it, and then Jim Kelly's going to have to go about 90 yards with no timeouts, and I just don't think that's possible to do.
Time. Clock stopped. Timeout taken by Buffalo. They have 1 remaining. 1:04 to go in this fourth quarter, and the Jets have a 3rd down and 10 coming up at the 35-yard line.
And now it's time for the Hager wrinkle-free cotton super play of the game.
Very well done.
Thank you, Marv. And that play, without question, is the interception in the fourth quarter here late by Brian Washington. He's in that rover position and picks off the pass and takes it all the way in and provides the winning points for the Jets, or at least the probable winning points for the Jets. I've seen too many of these close calls go the other way, Marv.
So that our super play of the game. Brian Washington with his 5th interception of the season. His first return for a touchdown in the NFL off an interception. Big hole opened up as Chafee reaches to the 30 short of a 1st down, and again a timeout taken. 1 minute remaining in this fourth quarter. Buffalo using its final timeout.
This brings up kind of an interesting decision for Bruce Coslet, though, because now, you know, you're risking punting the ball in these windy conditions. You saw what happened on that last punt snap, and if that were to happen again and the kicker mishandled that snap, which we've seen him field 1 off the ground and almost drop that last one, you know, if the Bills were able to block a punt here, they could pick it up and score with it. So now I'm sure Bruce Coslet and the Jets are deciding whether in fact they want to punt it or whether they would just say, hey, we will run the ball here, run it maybe for 2 or 3 yards, possibly get the 1st down, make the Bills use their last time out and hope they can't go, you know, 75 yards. Looks like they've elected to punt it, but you can be sure they're going to be extra careful here.
And Aguilar will try to angle it. Hicks dropping back. 1 minute remaining in this fourth quarter. The Jets with a 24-17 advantage. Buffalo using its final timeout. And the low snap handled by Aguilar. And a beautiful play by the one-time Buffalo Bill, Chris Burkett, who has had an enormous day, both on special teams and as a pass receiver. There's Aguilar with the hug of Burkett. What a play, downing it inside the 5. The clock is running down to 30 seconds. Bills having difficulty setting up for the play. Buffalo Bills facing their 2nd straight loss. Once again, victims of an upset as Kelly throws deep down the field, and it's intercepted or broken up. Let's see. Brian Washington again. And he comes up with his 2nd interception of the game. Brian Washington picks it off. So Jim Kelly is intercepted again. And that will wrap it with 11 seconds remaining.
Just a tremendous effort on the part of both the offensive unit of the Jets running the ball. Browning Nagel, you know, you've got to think that he grew up a little bit today. You know, if you can come up here to Rich Stadium with a -3 wind chill factor and take your team against the Buffalo Bills, a team that without question one of the top 2 or 3 teams in football, or has been for the past few years, you're starting to grow up as a quarterback. And then too, you got to credit the defense for just a great performance in limiting the explosive offense of the Buffalo and holding them to 17 points.
And the Bills are hearing the boos from the crowd. The Jets stop the 10-game losing streak to Buffalo. They win their first of the season on the road. They have won 4 and lost 9. The Bills drop to 9-4. An inspirational afternoon for the New York Jets, who dedicated this game to their partially paralyzed teammate Dennis Byrd. And as we mentioned earlier, good news provided from the hospital yesterday that Dennis showed movement in both legs, also able to flex his thigh muscle, and that was passed on to the Jets at a team meeting before they boarded the plane to Buffalo, and that provided a big lift for this ball club.
Well, it certainly did. And you know, for all the bad news and bad luck that the Jets have had, you know, maybe that's turned around a little here, not only with the news about Dennis Byrd, but with also the victory over the Bills.
And now Buffalo players joining the Jets in a prayer for Dennis Byrd. This taking place at the center of the field. Talked about the compassion shown by the Buffalo Bills for the injury that was suffered by Byrd, and they're joining hand in hand with the New York Jets.
Oh, without question, there is compassion on both sides, and as I said in the pregame, it's such a small fraternity. There are only 1,500 players, and they identify directly with one another, and there you see a very, very strong and vivid example of that identification.
An emotional scene here at Rich Stadium in the aftermath of this Jet upset victory over the Buffalo Bills. And this, the interception by Brian Washington, his first of 2 on the day. This, the game winner. Washington with interception number 5 on the season. He finishes up with 6, and he ran that in for the touchdown. Defensive coordinator Pete Carroll, a very happy man, as the Jet defensive unit came up very big in this victory over the Buffalo Bills. Stay tuned now for the Old Spice NFL Live postgame report with the latest on all the action from around the league, and then on most of these NBC stations it'll be game 2 of our NFL doubleheader. Buffalo, where the Jets defeat the Bills in a stunner. Now to Bob Costas.
Marv, thanks very much. And besides the Jets victory over Buffalo, which you just saw, other games in progress, most of you, before we send you off to the second half of the doubleheader. The Eagles over the Vikings, 28-17. This one is late in the 4th quarter. Randall Cunningham has had a big day on the ground, approaching 100 yards rushing, and he has 2 rushing touchdowns. Seth Joyner just picked off a Sean Salisbury pass, brought it back 22 yards for a touchdown, and that appears to be the clincher for the Eagles. Looks like they'll go to 8-5, and Minnesota will drop to 9-4. Pittsburgh and Seattle has just ended. The Seahawks had the ball. They were desperately trying to put something on the board, and just a moment ago it ended. The Steelers win it 20-14. Barry Foster had 33 carries for 125 yards. He is, of course, the league's leading rusher, and his 4-yard touchdown run with 2:22 remaining gave the Steelers the lead, and eventually they were able to tack on a Gary Anderson field goal from 39 yards out to pad that lead. 20-14 is the final score. So the Steelers have won 4 in a row. They're 10-3, and they're undefeated at home at 6-0. And very importantly now, they hold the best overall record in the AFC, with Buffalo losing. So the Steelers would have home field advantage at this point throughout the playoffs if the records remain the same. Cincinnati and Cleveland in Cleveland. Bernie Kosar and company in front, 37-14, so Cleveland will go up over 500 for the year at 7-6. Kosar has thrown a couple of touchdown passes, one to Eric Metcalf and another to Michael Jackson. Green Bay finishes off Detroit. The final there is 38-10. Brett Favre threw 3 first-half touchdown passes, and they cruised from there. So the Packers have won 4 in a row and 5 of the last 6, and they're alive for a wild card with their record of 7 up and 6 down. And Indianapolis and New England, this one is in the 4th quarter. The Patriots started Hugh Millen, who is healthy again, but they pulled him in the second half, and Scott Zolak is in there now. Obviously, he hasn't been able to generate any offense. On a pair of Dean Biasucci field goals, both in the first half, Indianapolis leading this